All right. Speaking about watching the show, excited to get our good friend, Big Game Boomer, on. It's time for another list. This week, it's our college football top 10 power ranking, official, more important than the AP top 10, any poll you're going to see. I feel like we got it right. Boomer, what's up, man?
What's happening, y'all? How y'all doing?
Doing good. Another day, another dollar. We're already in week 3 of the college football season. I need it to slow down. It's like my puppy.
Going by too fast.
It's growing way too fast.
Really getting big?
We need to stop. Yeah, she's like doubled in size. Like it's like a Pokemon situation because she's evolving into the second.
That's
second
so
one.
Need to see it right in front of
you. Yeah, I'm ready to see what power she has.
Start calling you Ash.
Pokemon's changed sizes.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? We're not getting into this.
Okay.
Cone, we're not getting into this right
Anyway.
Yeah. Boomer. All right. So what was your kind of biggest takeaway from last weekend? I mean, obviously you had Bama in the fist fight with Texas. The Sun Belt absolutely ran roughshod. We're very excited. We got Georgia Southern head coach Clay Helton coming on here this week. Excited to talk about that. And game day is going to Boone this Saturday for a little App State at home versus Troy. What were kind of some of your biggest takeaways this weekend?
Well, you know, this Saturday, it kind of felt good to me because all offseason I was preaching that Notre Dame and Texas A&M are overrated. And week 2, here we are. They both lose to 2 schools in the Sun Belt. So it was great for me to see it, to see them lose. I mean, I'm honestly not surprised. Another thing, West Virginia, those fans have been just giving me crap all off season because I've been saying that they're not any good. And look, they lose to Kansas. So I know I'm probably wrong way more than I am right, but these are some of the predictions that came true. So it feels good to see those schools lose.
Yeah, it always feels good to get predictions right. Like, I don't know that Haynes King shouldn't be the starting quarterback at A&M or that South Carolina is probably going 2-6 in the SEC, but we'll save that for another day. Anyway, Boomer, we've got your top 10 college football power rankings up right now. Go ahead and go through those, explain them to us, and let's watch the fires that get started on the outside here.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think Georgia is the undisputed number 1 here. I think everyone agrees on that. 2, I've got Ohio State at 2 this week. Just because Alabama, that may have been the sloppiest game I've seen Alabama play in Nick Saban's career at Bama. I mean, 100 yards and penalty yards. I mean, they've got some receiver issues there. So I've got Bama at 3. Arkansas, I've got Arkansas at 4. I know they've got some problems in the secondary, but I can't think of a team that's played a tougher schedule and has gone 2-0 so far this season. I think Florida has probably played maybe the toughest schedule, but they lost to Kentucky. So I've got the Hogs at 4. And then Cone probably won't like this. I've got Michigan State.
We're going to talk about it.
Sparty at 5. I like what Mel Tucker's doing. Peyton Thorne needs to clean it up a little bit, but you know, it's hard to see. They haven't really played anyone yet. And then 6, right behind Big Brother, I've got Michigan at 6. And, you know,
soundboard here.
They've played. I mean, they haven't played any, but they've played high school teams. So, but they're good.
You just said that about Michigan State, though.
McCarthy it looked good against Hawaii, but I mean, I think one of us could go out there and sling it against Hawaii. They're that bad, so we won't know anything about them. But they are talented. I think their secondary will get tested here in a couple weeks. BYU was maybe the most impressive team. Who I have at 7. I mean, they look great against Baylor. Jaron Hall looks like an NFL quarterback. That defense absolutely suffocated Baylor's offense, which we all thought was going to be better with Shapen at quarterback. And then USC, I mean, it looks like OU's offense basically in Southern California. I mean, it looks like they're picking right up where they left off with Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison. And then NC State, I know they look bad against East Carolina, but I've got them at 9. I'm still sticking with them. They're my college football playoff team. They get a good test this week against Texas Tech. And then Tennessee coming in at 10, who, big win against a good Pitt team. So I don't think they can stop the run or really stop anybody on offense, defense. But that offense is going to put up points, and it's going to be tough to stop them.
Yeah, and again, look, I love where you have Arkansas as the guy that picked them as the third best team in the SEC. You know, I will tip my cap and shake your hand and say, have a good day, sir. A couple questions. Ohio State, are you worried a little bit after the way that Notre Dame looked against Marshall, that maybe that was a little bit of fool's gold with Ohio State, even though Alabama, yeah, I know you want that code. I know Alabama didn't look great against Texas. How did you kind of differentiate those two to put Ohio State 2 and Bama 3?
I feel like, you know, Marcus Freeman is a first-time head coach. So I feel like it was more of I think Notre Dame is still talented. I think their defense is still solid. I think it's one of those cases where they spent all offseason getting ready for that Ohio State game. And then, you know, boom, they lose. And it's a little bit of a letdown. You got Marshall the next week, and they just probably did not put as much preparation into it as they did for Ohio State. And that's coaching. Marcus Freeman's got to learn to get your players ready every week the same way that you would when you play in Ohio State, because that was Marshall's Super Bowl, and they had that game circled on their calendar, and they took advantage of it. So I think Notre Dame is they're still a good team, but I mean, Ohio State, I mean, they played Arkansas State, but the offense really seemed like it started clicking again. Stroud was throwing up some gaudy numbers, you know, with Marvin Harrison. So I still feel good about Ohio State.
Yeah. Coney, what you got?
Well, I can feel the Michigan fans in the chat right now from over there where Blaine's sitting. I know what they want from me. They want me to get aggressive here, but I'm going to thank you, Boomer. Thank you for putting Michigan behind State and that Ohio team from Columbus, because, you know, all I've been hearing is how great Michigan is. We're back. J.J. McCarthy's going to win 3 Heisman trophies over his tenure. We need that little chip on our shoulder, and let's go win the Big Ten. So I appreciate that. But Michigan State is going to Washington this week, and right now I am looking at Washington -3 here on the spread. How are you feeling about that game?
That's going to be an interesting game because, I mean, Washington, if you've watched them, Kalen DeBoer and with Michael Penix, they can sling it around and they can score points, which is crazy after watching Washington last season. So it's definitely going to test that secondary and see if it's really improved. So I can't wait for that. I think that's probably one of the best games this weekend.
No doubt.
And I mean, they could easily lose that game if the secondary is not improved, because Washington will put up points.
And you've been calling that,
I've been saying it since the offseason. Washington's going 7-2 in the Pac-12, and they're beating Michigan State. I was screaming from the
Jake's been calling that one for a while. I wasn't as sold on that, but I'll tell you what, with what Washington's putting together, shout out to my buddy Nick Sheridan over there. I really like it. Let's go to the Sooners here. I don't think you didn't have Oklahoma in your top 10.
Oklahoma or Clemson, Boomer.
You didn't? Okay, I'll let one of y'all get to Clemson. I'll go to Oklahoma. You didn't have Oklahoma in your top 10. I think nationally they're 6. We have them at 9. They have Nebraska this week. Now, do you think there's a situation where maybe coming off the Scott Frost firing, Cornhuskers could maybe circle the wagons? And if Oklahoma wins that game, what do they have to do to climb into your top 10?
I mean, I think they need to win that game convincingly. It's Brent Venables. I was on a Nebraska podcast last night talking about this game, and it's going to be an interesting game. I don't think OU is just going to walk into Lincoln and blow out a Scott Frost-less Nebraska team. I mean, I think the spread's like 11 or 13 points. Like I said, Brent Venables' first road game, going in playing against a crowd with 90,000 people. They're going to be kind of relieved and I think more fired up now that Frost is gone. This will probably be a 1-score game going into the fourth quarter. If you watched OU play Kent State on Saturday night, they did not look that impressive. Really struggled on third down. I mean, it was a 1-score game going into the first half. So I need to see more from OU on the offensive side of the football before I can put them in the top 10.
Yep, it's 11 right now.
It's 11 right now.
11,
all right, Blaine, we're going to get to the Booster Club here in a second. Let's go ahead and hit our top 10. We got Georgia at number 1. All right, I think we can all agree there. Correct. Shake hands, look everybody in the eyes. Let's all be friends. Bama at number 2. Still have them there. Like I said, don't write them off yet. People are going to be bashing them all week.
They won.
That's why I literally took Bama -49 against All Monroe. I think it's going to be a murder so bad Agatha Christie's going to write a book about it. Ohio State 3, Michigan 4. Man, those top 4, man. I haven't seen those top.
I don't know about Michigan.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows about Michigan yet 100%, but we know what they did last year. I think you got to give them a little bit of credit for what they've been able to create.
Here's my one thing on Michigan. Mel Tucker owns Jim Harbaugh, and until I am proven wrong, that is Michigan State is better than Michigan.
Well,
I think
look, be that as it may, Michigan lost to Michigan State last year and still won the Big Ten and made the playoff. So that could continue, and they could still be a top 4
I bet
team.
Michigan walks Michigan State this year. Walks.
I like
You think
the
that
confidence.
walks?
Where do they play?
We'll
Where do
see.
they
You have
play?
more
Kenneth
confidence.
Walker ain't there to save you.
You have more confidence than I do.
Is
but
it in
I
the
bet
big
they
house?
walk 'em.
It's in the big house?
Yeah.
Okay, hey, let's bring our graphic back up. All right, we got Clemson 5, Cade Klubnik. It's just a matter of time. I had somebody on our YouTube channel comment, said, I don't think you're giving DJ you enough love.
For what?
For what? Like, again, what have you shown me?
Did you say you're right?
Yeah.
I'm not?
Yeah, well, I won't. Like, you want me to look in your face and lie to you? I mean, come on. You had parents. We had BYU at number 6, so we're kind of similar there. To me, them beating Baylor, I know it was at home, but them beating Baylor without Romney or Pico Nakua shows you that Baylor can win in multiple ways, and getting those guys back with Jaron Hall, with Christopher Brooks at running back, but I love how physical they are up front. BYU typically stayed with like some monster at defensive end.
They looked athletic.
6'7", 260, and everybody else was just kind of decent looking. They look fast to me, as fast as I've seen them and as deep as I've seen them. And like you said, Jaron Hall can create, he can improvise, he can keep the play going.
Their schedule down the road, they got Notre Dame, Arkansas.
Notre Dame's looking a little bit
They go to
different.
Oregon this week, right?
Oregon this weekend.
Yeah, which they're a dog, 3.5-point dog, 4-point dog, something like that. USC number 7. Listen, to me, USC right now is like a brand new Ferrari with a nice paint job, Merlin engine, good interior, but the tires are flat because they don't have the guys up front to be able to win a national championship. Not that they couldn't go undefeated in the Pac-12 or have a big year, but once they get there and you see the Bamas or the Georgias or the Ohio States or the Michigans or the Clemsons, I don't think they're good enough up front on either side of the ball. Arkansas number 8. Again, like you said, there's some questions in their secondary, but what KJ Jefferson's been able to do, they've shown the ability to be explosive. They had that big win against an underrated Cincinnati team, in my opinion, Cone. Game 1, were able to beat South Carolina at home. Game 2, OU number 9 and Tennessee number 10. Blaine, tell everybody why we put Tennessee 10 and not Kentucky 10. Because we got Kentucky 11.
Yep.
I mean, we're splitting hairs. I just think, did we all come to the consensus that Kentucky's offense is kind of overrated a little bit?
Well, not that it's overrated, but we feel like Tennessee could score enough points that
Kentucky could keep.
Exactly, and it's tough to get a pass rush on Tennessee because it's Downset Hut, balls out. Here we go, line up. Downset Hut, balls out. Here we go, Downset Hut, line up, inside zone, just stuff like that. So I don't think there's a huge gap. I think this is where the system a little bit, and I feel like Tennessee has a few more weapons outside with Brew McCoy and Cedric Tillman and guys like that. Boomer, Tennessee or Kentucky? I know you had Tennessee number 10 as well. How close do you think Tennessee and Kentucky are?
I mean, I think they're neck and neck with each other. I think that Tennessee's offense is better. And Kentucky looked great against Florida, but I think we all overreacted on Florida a little bit. I think they're still middle of the road SEC East team, but I mean, Will Levis looked good. I'm really concerned about them being able to run the football. I don't know how long Chris Rodriguez is going to be out.
He's back this week.
He's back this week. Okay.
Yep.
They lost some starters on the offensive line. And is Tavion Robinson, is he going to step up and be the next Wan'Dale Robinson? That's my biggest question mark. We've seen it. I mean, he's looked good so far. But when they get into that meat of the schedule, that's where I'm really interested to see if he can replace Robinson.
Yeah, can they be explosive enough? Can the offense be brought to you by Pepto-Bismol? Do you have enough guys out there to do it?
Let me ask you this: with Sam Hartman coming back to Wake Forest, what will Wake Forest have to do to really get in the top?
When
Clemson at home,
when they beat Clemson at home, I mean, you really got to start looking at it because I know Vanderbilt. This still isn't your typical Vanderbilt team. They've got some athletes running around. Mike Wright can present some problems, not necessarily throwing the ball to a certain extent, but his ability to run, his ability to hurt you on third down with his legs and keep drives alive, and be able to throw the intermediate pass game as well. Them handling business there with Sam coming back in his first game. He obviously didn't miss a beat. If they beat Clemson at home, which they have a chance to now that Sam Hartman's a quarterback, we really have to start looking at Wake Forest as a top 10 team because if you look at their schedule, there's a chance they could run through the ACC.
Yeah, and let's see. Oh, they do have. Oh, I'm trying to see where
they play Miami.
I'm trying to see. Wake goes to NC State.
They go to NC State. There you go. You beat Clemson and NC State. I mean, we again at the end of the day, real recognize real, right?
Yeah, I believe so. All right, question here from Charles Moore. What's up, Charles? #AskBoomer. Is the UT defense strategy against Bama a blueprint for other teams like Arkansas, Tennessee, and Georgia?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I mean, what they did, they shut down Bama's receivers. To me, it just seems like Bama had a letdown more than it was Texas in their preparation. I don't know, man. I was just shocked to see Bama struggle that much. I mean, if it wasn't for Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy guy, taking them down to the end of the game, they lose that game. So I think it was more Bama being unprepared than Texas and their scheme.
I think it was a combination. I think Sarkisian still game planned them really well, and Gary Patterson coming in, like clearly that added an element. But just like we talked about with Rusty Mansell last week, for Texas to win or even keep it close the way they did, it had to be a combination of things. And certainly Alabama had a letdown, but I think Texas had a good game plan as well.
Well, we talked about this yesterday. The way Gary Patterson was manipulating the blitz, he was giving you very similar looks pre-snap, but they were doing different things at the snap. It was confusing that offensive line, even confused Bryce Young a little bit. If you looked at he was checking up front. That's why I think he was holding that ball so long, because he wasn't expecting that interior pressure, and he's used to guys getting open quickly. But Texas did a really good job of showing blitz, getting exotic with the blitzes out of similar sets, and then showing blitz and not blitzing, because they got to one point where Texas, who tackled as well as I've ever seen him tackle, as physical as I've ever seen him play, Texas wasn't worried about getting beat deep. And when you're not worried about getting beat deep, you can see that's why the Bama run game really didn't have a chance to get going. Jahmyr Gibbs was better catching the ball out of the backfield, and McClellan busted that outside zone for about 80 yards that one play because the linebacker buried himself and the safety was nowhere to be found. But outside of that, Texas mixed it up enough, but I do agree with you guys. It's a combination.
Well, Bama really doesn't have that guy who can take the top off.
Well, they do. He's hurt. Tyler Harrell.
Yeah, okay, but still, right now, you see in that game, they don't have the J-Mos, right? They don't have the Jerry Judys like we watched last night. It's just weird seeing that Bama team, especially at the receiver position, not having that guy you can hit the big shot on, because they have that guy every year. I can't remember a year that they didn't have a guy. I mean, Henry Ruggs, boom, could take it. You go to Judy. You go to J-Mo last year. Hell, even Mechie could almost take
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith. So, it's just weird seeing, Bama's offense not being explosive. I haven't seen that in a long time. All right, Steve the Pirate, hashtag Ask Boomer. Do we see there being... yeah, exactly. What are we going to do with all this buried treasure? Do we see there being any chance for Penn State to end up number 2 in the Big Ten East? Don't think they're beating Ohio State, but maybe Michigan or Michigan State.
He said Penn State?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was impressed with them when they played Purdue. I mean, Sean Clifford made some mistakes, but when the game came down to the line, I mean, he had that great game-winning touchdown drive. This week, we're going to find out a lot about Penn State when they go down to get to the Plains and play Auburn. I mean, their secondary, maybe one of the best secondaries in the country, with Joey Porter Jr. And some of those other guys. So I've been impressed with Penn State so far. And if they beat Auburn this weekend, which I think they will, then I'm going to even be higher on them.
I'll say this. I think the Aller kid is better than Sean Clifford.
You think so?
I'm telling you, that kid's got a chance to be really good.
Y'all don't like Sean Clifford.
When he came in, when he's just too inconsistent to me. We'll see it's early in the season.
Sean Clifford's as old as us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, he's older. He's got a 401k, and he's already starting to get stuff from the AARP. I think he coached at Penn State for a couple of years too. But Aller, I'm telling you guys, this kid has a chance. He came in against Purdue, and it was just like
he's a tree.
He's a tree. He's a redwood for sure. Yeah. But he's got an absolute hand cannon, and came in, didn't miss a beat. Made some pretty good throws, overthrew one. It was a little bit kind of muddy. The coverage was a little bit muddy. But I'm to the future for Penn State at quarterback. That kid, NFL player.
Trust me, I had a Purdue in that game, and no one wants to see anybody get hurt.
Oh, I did too.
Nobody wants to see anybody go out, but Sean Clifford went out. I was like, oh, darn.
Run the ball at the end of the game.
You know, just like Thor came out.
Run the ball.
Started throwing dig routes.
They send in Groot, who's just absolutely just throwing, missiles across the field. But Boomer, man, really appreciate you, my friend. It's always great stuff. We're going to make sure we tag you in this and see, let people pick which one they agree with more. Tell everybody where they can find your work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Appreciate y'all for having me on. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Big Game Boomer on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube. We've got a little podcast going on. Nothing daily like what you guys got going on, but still fun stuff. So
for sure.
Appreciate y'all for having me on. And I can't believe we're in week 3. It flies by so fast.
Yeah. I know. They grow up so fast. 2022 football season. You got to take a picture, and thanks for the memories. Appreciate it, Boom.
Thanks for
the memories. Take it easy.
Hey everybody, if you like what you're hearing, go ahead and ring that bell. We're excited to be here. It's Crane & Company live 2 to 3 Central daily. Ring that bell. I want to hear it from coast to coast.